going on, guys? It's Red Bull Tanker, and welcome back to Historical Board Gaming's The Korean War. This is turn 11. We are now in the months of March and April 1952. And, alright. North Korea. So North Korea started with 45 IPC. They spent 10 to repair the factory. Then they bought 4 infantry, 4 artillery, a tank, and a supply. They did no combat. Just continued to move forces into the positions down here. And then collected 42 IPC. China with 35. China bought a mech, a tank, and 2 fighters. They also did not do combat. They're just continuing the steady flow of troops to the south and then moving aircraft from Seoul into Osan to back up the North Koreans. And then at the end of the turn, China collected 35. South Korea with 18 purchased 6 infantry, did no combat, reinforced the 8th Army with 5 infantry in Sangju, and just moved forces up. Excuse me. Yeah, and then they collected 16 IPC. The U.S. With 50, 6 mech, a tank, and 2 fighters. We have the 29th and 41st Infantry Divisions. Once again, they bombed Seoul for 10. Making it through, and then on the non-combat, they continued to reinforce the 8th Army in Sangju. Excuse me. And then at the end of the turn, reinforced Sangju. They brought the 9th and 75th Infantry into Pusan, and then moved 2 fighters into Sangju, 2 more fighters into Sangju, and then collected 50 IPC. The UN had 24 to spend. They only spent 18. 2 mechs and a fighter. Saved 6. No combat. Consolidated here in Cheongju. Deployed their forces into Gwangju. And then at the end of the turn, collected 20 plus the 6 they saved for 26 IPC. Again, 13 to 24. And I know that was really quick. That was kind of a quick wrap up. Honestly, guys, we're calling it. We're going to call this game only because just looking at it, at this point, the only thing I see for the Allies going forward is to just continue reinforcing Sangju. I don't see where the U.S. can funnel money to even consider rebuilding a landing force to try and conduct any landings in the rear here, especially now that, what is that? That's 14 Chinese infantry there, 12 Chinese infantry there. You got the 15 right here. Like, there's no plausible way for the U.S. to rebuild a transport fleet, rebuild an army here, while also trying to keep Sangju supplied with enough troops to match everything that the communists are bringing in. So we are ending the game. It is a communist victory, this game. But we are going to reload, recock, and we're going to play again. We are going to switch sides. I am now going to play as the communists, and Airsoft Commando is going to play as the Allies. As far as end of the game notes, there's really nothing that we don't like with our updated rule set. There's just one or two. There's like 3 things that we're gonna play with. There are 3 things we're gonna play with for the next game, which I will do in an introduction. In a few days or so. Just gonna take a day or two to take a break before we go back at it again. And I'll just outline them real quick. So one thing that we're going to do is that kind of like with one of our 1951 games. We're just gonna have all the allies go at once, so they can attack together. They can already defend together, so they can at least attack together as well. And we're gonna see how that plays out with the allies just going all at the same time. And then the only other two rules that we're going to play with, the only other two things that we're going to play with is that with Seoul, and same with like Pyongyang, or at least I'm thinking with Pyongyang too, because it would make sense. But if the city is completely surrounded, if all the territories around the city are surrounded, you can't build out of the factories. Like, the factories will not be able to be built out of because they are cut off from supply. I know in the case of North Korea, I mean, that's going to kind of be par for the course because it's kind of also what really happened to them, and which is why they had to rely on China to get them back on their feet in the actual war, which would, be the same as what would happen here in this game too. So those are really and then obviously we are going to still play with the idea that after the North Koreans hold Seoul for 2 turns, we start rolling dice to see if China will come into the game. But other than that, we don't plan to change anything else. We're going to keep, even though we never got that far, we are still going to keep that you can't do amphibious assaults on the last turn. We're going to keep, keep the different keep the new units like jets and cruisers. One other unit that I just remembered that we are going to that I want to add to this is self-propelled artillery, like the Katyusha rocket launchers and the M7 pre-self-propelled guns from the United States. Thinking about adding, probably going to add those ones in too, and those ones will kind of work off of those ones as well. But so that is going to be it for this playthrough, and just keep a watch out for the next introduction video. That'll probably come might even come Friday night. So it might come out tomorrow night, or it'll come out sometime over the weekend. Sucks that the Allies couldn't pull off back-to-back wins this time around, but again, I think part of it came from just my my bad decision to split my armies and try and do the encirclement of Seoul without actually really having anything to back that up. And I think that's really, in the end, what really cost me the game. Not to mention the brutal combat that took place in Chonan on around turn 8. All the brutal combat that happened there too. It just weakened the U.S. to the point where just the flow of reinforcements coming in was only just matching what the North Koreans were bringing in. So that's it for this one, and we will see you guys for the next game after a short break. So until then, guys, as always, take care.